my hand and her ex in my heart. Turn that fear to a spell, then I spark. I've been cursed from the start.
Look man, I'm just some random idiot on the internet, okay? I'm not trying to tell you how to feel. I'm not trying to tell you how to think or tone police anything you're saying. I'm just trying to dispense a little critical thought into the things that we consume on this planet. Imagine this, you grew up with a cult classic movie, iconic characters, epic stories, all the things that shaped your childhood. Then Hollywood grabs it and slaps a big pile of woke all over it, ignores the source material and basically turns it into a big, huge, steaming pile of crap.
That is one big pile of shit.
We're going to talk about why Star Wars fans hate Star Wars, Amazon's Rings of Power. We are going to talk about why entertainment is being completely and utterly destroyed. So buckle up, because this is going to be savage. First off, Hollywood has gone full zombie apocalypse, right? The remakes need to stop. They dredge up these old classics and then turn them into brain-dead husks of their former selves. It's ridiculous. Now, I know Snow White has been dragged over the coals enough, but we can't not mention the absolute travesty that was Snow White.
She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
They absolutely butchered every single thing about that movie. And why did they do this? Well, modern audiences.
Weird.
Now, I'm not going to say anything that everyone hasn't said already about Amazon's Rings of Power, but this is fantasy, right? It doesn't really exist, so who cares, right? Well, when you have an established franchise that's, decades upon decades old, and you have one of the greatest trilogies possibly ever made, it's really not that hard to just stick to the lore material because it's already there. It's great. It's established.
We didn't want to put any of our own, certainly in terms of the thematic material, we didn't want to put any of our own baggage. I mean, we had no interest in putting our messages into this movie, but we thought that we should honor Tolkien by putting his messages into it.
Dwarves are stout, fully bearded folk that are born from Middle-earth's mountains. Okay, when you make a female dwarf of African-American descent without a beard, that is an inclusion, alright? That's just pure erasure. It doesn't make sense to do this.
It's not able to create anything new. It can only distort and destroy what has been invented or made by the forces of good.
Now fans rioted, obviously, because Tolkien is one of those trilogies that you just don't mess with. No amount of studio production and quality in VFX is gonna save you from completely destroying the lure behind Tolkien's fantasy world. Look, alright, I'm a giant Star Wars fan. Let me rephrase. I used to be a giant Star Wars fan. And there's a reason, like I said at the beginning, why Star Wars fans hate Star Wars. There's only one reason for this, and that is Disney. Now, I didn't hate the latest installments in the franchise, even though I enjoyed them. There are major problems with what they did with those three stories, and relying on nostalgia hooks to bring in old fans.
We've decoded the intel from the First Order spy, and it confirms the worst. Somehow Palpatine returned.
To be sure.
Thanks, Disney. You know that in every... I have watched so many Star Wars series. There is no story telling us about how a Jedi actually creates their first lightsaber. There's no story about the Old Republic. Holy shit. Just go back to the Old Republic. Do you know how many characters, how many rich epic arcs there are within the Old Republic? How the Old Republic got formed. All the Jedis that came together. The rise and fall of the Sith. The creation of the Sith homeworld. The Sith is such an incredible story. It's maddeningly good, okay? And you won't go down that line. You create some new Matrix Jedi ninja slop. You could even do an entire trilogy just on Darth Revan. Alright, Darth Revan is probably one of my top 5 favorite characters of all time. I swear to God, Star Wars fans would lose their entire minds if you made a series about Darth Revan. Why? Why can't you be brave enough to try something like that? And basically, for the cinematic universe, Disney has completely drained that franchise of, you know, any kind of originality.
We want to make something for the fans. So I said, all I wanted to do was tell a story of what happened. You know, it started here and it went there, and it's all about generations, and it's about, you know, the issues of fathers and sons. And
you know what it really felt like, that whole series? That whole series felt like a corporate checklist. So now we're going to talk about some real betrayal.
Black cloak, black skin, walk the hall, they whispering, cauldron bubble.
Some deep-seated betrayal.
They ain't teach where I'm from, had to learn from the alleys and the torch.
And Amazon is coming out with the brand new remake of the Harry Potter series, which we have seen the first trailer for. Amazon has come out and said that we are making this series because we are trying to make it as close to the books as possible. And in the first trailer, we get our first glimpse at Hagrid, Dumbledore, and most controversially speaking, Snape. Now, I am not going to be controversial here. I am, but that's just the way it is. A very big fan of Harry Potter. My wife is a diehard fan.
You're a wizard, Harry.
She's playing Hogwarts Legacy. In fact, it's the first game I've ever seen her try to platinum, which is a huge deal for me to watch as a husband. Now you said, now Amazon, you said that you're trying to make this as close to the books as possible. The description of Snape in the books, a greasy-haired, hook-nosed potion master with a tragic arc tied to the looks and his backstory. Pale-skinned, hook-nosed potions master. Now let me tell you, Alan Rickman was the perfect casting for Professor Snape. Now we're gonna get to the conclusion of what I'm trying to tell you all here, okay? But you swapped out an integral character for the Potter universe that has been there for almost 30 years in the books and is hard-coded into the franchise. And you basically gut the character. Now understand this is about race, but only within the Potter universe. Going after the actor who plays the character is 100% racism. The only ones to blame here are Amazon executives. I mean, these books are hard-coded into at least 2 generations, for God's sake. And the point is, have you ever, in any kind of entertainment in the last 20 years, seen any black character race-swapped into a white character? No, you sure as hell haven't. This is blatantly obvious pandering, which completely kills immersion. Why can't you just go back? Hogwarts is so old. The Wizarding World is so old. You can create, if you have the balls, if you have writers who have balls to just go back and try and do something original with brand new characters and make us fall in love with Harry Potter all over again. They're not brave enough to take that chance. I'm gonna have to sail the high seas to watch this one. I love movies, TVs, and series. I grew up with it when I was in college studying 3D animation. I had to study film, so it's kind of part of my whole life. And here is the point I am trying to make. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate it. Subscribe, like, do it, all that stuff. It would be great. It really helps my channel. Thank you very much. But honestly, demand better. Vote with your wallets. For example, I'm a diehard Marvel fan, but I refuse to go and watch anything in Marvel because of how terrible it's gotten. Now, I watched a very interesting episode on Joe Rogan where Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were on his show talking about their brand new movie, which is really great, by the way. But they also started talking about the streaming platforms and the double screening and what Netflix executives are telling directors when they create movies.
The lights are on, other shit's going on, the kids are running around, the dogs are running around, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's just a very different level of attention that you're willing to, or that you're able to give to it. And that has a big effect. And it also ends up having an effect, or is starting to have an effect on how you make movies. Like, for instance, Netflix, you know, the standard way to make an action movie that we learned was, you know, you usually have like 3 set pieces, one in the first act, one in the second, and one in the third. And, you know, they kind of ramp up, and the big one with all the explosions, and you spend most of your money on that one in the third act. That's your kind of finale. And now they're like, can we get a big one in the first 5 minutes to get somebody, you know, we want people to stay tuned in. And And, you know, it wouldn't be terrible if you reiterated the plot 3 or 4 times in the dialogue because people are on their phones while they're watching, you know what I mean?
That's not what I remember movies, TVs being like. Killing deep storytelling in favor of ADHD friendly slop that nobody fully absorbs. So here it is. It's fun to get deep. It's fun to question stuff. Well, at least for me, it is anyway in my life. When my wife and I get engaged into something like, for example, Stranger Things. We're not going to talk about season 5, but Stranger Things. We had so many crazy theories and we'd spend hours debating Stranger Things. And there's so many other shows where we have done the same thing. Things like Succession.
I love it in here. I fucking love it!
And Silicon Valley.
Whoa. I was just gonna say it. This guy fucks. Am I right?
There's so many great original shows that we have had these really in-depth, deep conversations when, you know, we are presented with a story that's original and fresh and new and absorbing and engaging. And it's just maddening to me that we've lost that. It's not like it doesn't work. That's just my opinion from one crazy idiot on the internet. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, didn't enjoy it, agreed with it, didn't agree with it, have questions, don't have questions, let me know in the comments below. I want to hear your thoughts. It would be awesome if you subscribed as well. Maybe hit that like button. I don't have anything else left, so this is all I am trying to do. So any support would be greatly appreciated if you made it this far. Love and peace. Catch you on the next one.